actively accentuated in the Muslim community. Our story as a people represents the triumph of the uncorrupted human spirit. That means that we must work together to save communities that are ravaged by drugs, that are ravaged by gangs, that are also ravaged by crime. We must work together to reduce unemployment and the cost of living in our societies. We must address the sense of alienation that many people feel as historical neighborhoods like the World Cup face gentrification, and we must strive to ensure that District 6 again becomes a vibrant center of an inclusive community life. Some of you gathered here have said on other platforms that Cape Town seems to be continuing along the path of apartheid spatial planning and population distribution. We have a responsibility to respond to this concern. We are making good progress together with the Muslim Judicial Council and the land claimants from Makassar to resolve the outstanding land claim and the establishment of a heritage site at the Sheikh Yusuf Kramat. The Ministers of Land Reform and Arts and Culture have met with the leadership of the MJC. Currently, the Land Claims Commissioner is considering a condonation application, and we can expect that announcements will soon be made in this regard. This is our heritage. We must celebrate it and turn this site into a living center where current and future generations can learn about their own history, can learn about the struggles that were waged in the past. We want learners from around the province and indeed the country to visit this site to learn about the contribution that was made by this freedom fighter, Sheikh Yusuf. Next year, we will also support the annual Sheikh Yusuf Festival. Let's join hands. Let us join hands and build a sustainable partnership around Makassar project, which had huge opportunities for local economic development and jobs through tourism. We want our friends from Malaysia and Indonesia and other countries to make a yearly pilgrimage to Makassar. Let us be ready to receive them as they come in their hundreds, in their thousands, and hopefully in their tens of thousands. Friends and compatriots, we have a responsibility too to support those who feel patronized, those who feel marginalized and humiliated by those who want to deny the role of coloureds, Indians and Africans in the development of sports like rugby and cricket for more than 100 years. We must acknowledge with concern that the issue of the recognition of Muslim marriages has been drawn out for far too long, over 24 years. And increasingly this is going to be a matter that the courts will decide in the absence of consensus between government and the Muslim community. But we can find solutions. When I met with the Muslim Judicial Council earlier today, as it was raised also by the President here, they raised this issue and asked that it should be resolved. And indeed, we are going to find a solution, so this matter will be resolved. But we must find a solution that will be consistent with both the timeless values of your faith and the fundamental principles of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, your republic. If we are to send you to build this country, then we must, as the ANC, admit that we may have disappointed you in recent times through the prevalence of corruption and neglect. We are determined to obliterate those practices that serve only to erode our moral credibility as the leader of society. Over many months, each time whenever I came to this area, the issue that continues to be raised by many of you, some of you who are sitting here, was the issue of corruption and how we, as the African National Congress, was approaching it. Now I can say without any equivocation that after our 54th conference, the African National Congress is more than prepared, more than resolved to tackle corruption. We will root corruption out of the face of South. If there is an issue that has been raised with us as leaders of the ANC over and over and over again by our people, it is the issue of corruption. Because they see corruption as an affront to them. They see corruption as a horrible system that continues to underdevelop areas where they live. And it is for that reason that we, as a leadership that was elected in December, are determined. This we shall do. We will rid our country of corruption as was mandated by the membership of the African National Congress. We are resolute that we will take full advantage of this new spirit of hope that is prevailing through our country, a spirit of hope and renewal that essentially has engulfed the whole country to decisively deal with all the ills that did beset us in the past. And we will do so as we deal with corruption both in the public sector and in the private sector. Because there is also corruption in the private sector. It is not only in the public sector. Inspired by the decisions of the 54th National Conference of the ANC, we are going back to our timeless values of selflessness, the values that people like Dara Omar, the values that people like Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu abided by, the values of humility, the values of hard work and respect for the people. We are in our daily conduct driven by our desire to affirm practically our belief in the absolute necessity of ethical leadership, a belief we share with you and which has bound us together for many decades. We would welcome the input of the Muslim community on these and many other matters as we approach the 2019 general elections, so that we can properly plan the ANC's priorities for the 6th administration. We say this because the Muslim community has been joined at the hip with the fortunes of the African National Congress. And we know that you too have been deeply pained by the fact that the ANC is no longer the governing party in this province. we aim to change that. When we appointed Ibrahim Rasool as the head of our election effort here in the Western Cape, the earth moved. The opposition started to feel that something had changed. And indeed, as we were singing, as we were going to the conference, things are changing, and they are going to change for the better. Because he is going to help lead a very ethical, a very effective election campaign, working with all the other colleagues here in the Western Cape. We would therefore like you to join us, yes, as various formations in the Muslim community, to identify the key priorities that should guide our process towards the elections. These priorities must build also on the successes achieved by your own community. Our nation is grateful for the way Muslims each day make their contributions in every aspect of life. Despite your relatively small numbers, your footprint is all over the professions of South Africa. Yes, we have judges. Yes, I didn't see any single judge here today. And I didn't sit next to any single judge. We have judges, we have health professionals, we have people in the education sector, we have people in top levels of government, we have people in sports, we have people right across the various endeavors that South Africans get involved in. Your influence is also felt in our economy, from the boardrooms to the factory floors. We look to you to be part of the national effort to grow our economy, to generate investment, and to create jobs. One of the colleagues in this wonderful dinner tonight came to me and said, we as Muslims represent just a mere 1.6% of the population of our country, but our contribution to the GDP of the country is about 10%. That is phenomenal. And we thank you. There are many in this community that have the resources and the skills to be integrally involved in building an inclusive society and economy that serves all our people. Your contribution is evident also in our culture, from your cuisine to the music and to your faith. These are all signs that South Africa does not merely tolerate the Muslim community, but genuinely embraces them and their religion. But more importantly, when I arrived here, I was told that, welcome here, and you are part of us, Mr. President. And certainly tonight, I feel part of this community. And thank you very much. We will never be a country that will allow discrimination of any sort. Whilst your religion was banned for 150 years in the past, your religion will never, ever, ever be banned again. Not in South Africa. And that is the joy of this South Africa that we live in. As Madiba said, never and never and never again shall the evils that were committed in the past ever be allowed to be committed here. In this regard, I commend the speedy response from both the Muslim Judicial Council and the Cape Accord in condemning any possible sectarian motives that may have been behind the gruesome attack at the Verulam Mosque just as we were welcoming this holy month of Ramadan. As Sheikh Nazim's prayer ended at the Union Buildings in May 1994, the newly inaugurated President Nelson Mandela made a vow, as I was saying, never and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another and suffer the indignity of being the skunk of the world. In the year of Madiba centenary, which it is this year, I commend you for ensuring that we will not tolerate hate speech, that we will not tolerate preachers of hate against our name and in our name, and that we will honor always the ethics of disagreement, the ethics that Islam pioneered in its theology and management of its own great internal diversity. It is these ethics that allowed your religion to embrace every continent, and it is these ethics of diversity that we need to infuse in our own nation so that we can work more for a non-racial, non-sexist, non-sectarian and united South Africa. Let these values, which we all share, guide us as we reach out to our brothers and sisters across the world who continue to suffer oppression, exploitation and dispossession. Let these values guide us in our support for the struggle of the Palestinian people for self-determination, peace and justice. May this month of Ramadan renew you as Muslims and renew you as a community and strengthen your resolve to continue putting the interests of those who are less off ahead of your own. On safety and security, I agree with you that it is our collective responsibility to promote peace and security. Our Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, is working on repositioning the police to have a greater resolve to be able to fight gangsterism here in the Western Cape, to have a greater resolve to fight against drugs in this province, and with the resolve that he is coming up with, I am sure that we will be able to bring many gangsters to book. And I can only say, gangsters, watch out, because we are coming after you. I'd like to thank the MJC for being firm against extremists, making a very strong statement against extremists, and we welcome this because we should never allow extremism in our country. We are a country that has embraced the values of Madiba. We have embraced the values that are clearly articulated in our constitution, and South Africa should never be a place where extremists find fertile ground amongst our young people and amongst any of us. It is during this period of Ramadan that we wish to thank you as a Muslim community and wish you strength as you carry on with your next few days to the completion of the month of Ramadan. May Ramadan remind you of the poor, and may it strengthen your resolve, or our resolve as a nation, to embrace transformation so that one day we may eliminate unemployment, we may eliminate poverty and inequality. May God's peace and mercy be upon you all, and always may God's hand be on your beloved South African nation, diverse in our backgrounds, but united in our resolve to be a free and equal nation. And thank you very much for allowing me to join in the prayers upstairs. It was a most fulfilling moment for me. Thank you very much.